say very quickly, that was Dan Heath. Dan Heath is the co-author of the book with his brother Chip, titled Switch. You've got a copy of that book. I recommend you pick up that book. Dan and his brother Chip are psychologists who invested time to research on how to launch change. That book is change agents across the globe. When we say change agents, in Nigeria we consider it people who are doing charity work or social work, but around the globe, change agents are people who launch change in organizations, in political parties, in businesses, in all sectors. So the second thing to say that there's a temptation to look at that and think the environment has to change before the person. But what his example was that there was somebody who was responsible for initiating that change, because he noted that the strategy for it was what Yinka highlighted as well. But our brother Paul also took on board the approach. But what is important then, this is something as nation builders we must grasp as the foundation, or you can call it the fundamental, is that one person, just one person, can change the environment around them and change the behavior of the people around them. Now, if one person has an environment of 5 people and change the behavior of 3 out of the 5 people, those 3 of the 5 would also have an environment that they just change. 3 would, maybe out of that 3, 2 change, another, if the ripple effects happens that way. Change is not automatic, it's always gradual. But what we change agents must do is to recognize our responsibility to initiate change there. I'll give you an example. My family used to dump plates in the kitchen. It's a very interesting one. Dump plates, or we'll wash it later. And I'm not the type that likes plates washed later. I consider it as, it started by eating, finished by washing up. So you talk, they ignore you, you talk, and I said, okay, every time I come, I wash. Every time I come, I wash. One day I was going for a run, and I was feeling like, Lord, won't you speak to this, my family? I'm losing my rag now. And I just keep washing. The change that you're looking for, you must learn this in nation building. Because you wash plate on day 1 and day 2, you feel that day 3, everyone, hey, let's wash plate. Look, son, it's going to take a while. Almost 4 years. And I mean, as a guy washing plates, some friends will come and see me, will say, come stand here, let's cheat. So I'm washing the plates and wash dry and put away. So when they come back, they'll come downstairs in the morning and the whole sink everywhere is sparkling. They look at them, wow. And you think they're loving and they're smiling. Do you like it? Yes. They come back dumping and thinking, this is crazy. But do you imagine that now, even when I'm not there, it's done? The culture has been building, the environment has changed, and has sustained that environment, and over time, they grabbed it. And this time, even without me being around, it's normal for them. But it took quite some time. But what was interesting was not that they eventually did it, was that I was at the verge of giving up, because I tried to determine that environment, and the people in the environment say, no, this one doesn't work for us. I try again, and I'm thinking, you know what, I couldn't be bothered. If I had done that, I would have lost out. So the lesson in that video is for us to recognize, as we seek to change the environment that will change the people, you agree that when you start, people will just leave that thing. You drive slow, come on for it, no sabi drive, go park that car. But one person out of the 10 that would do that would suddenly take that on board. And gradually, God takes that seed, multiply it, and the explosion happens. So this is the teaching session we're going to go into. What we do as well is a few people in London, a friend in Calabar, in Abuja do watch the video session. So like the previous teaching we did on May or March the 8th, we have that session on YouTube. So this one is a segment that will go on YouTube now. The title of this teaching is Changing the Culture. When we say culture, people begin to wonder, I won't change, or you won't change the clothes where they wear, or the food where they chop, or our language. We will get to understand what culture is eventually. But before that, I just want to give a roundup of what we talked about at the first meeting. At the first meeting, we titled it "The Revolution Has Started," and we also determined what revolution meant. And many people say this country will not change until there is a revolution. And by that they mean people are killed, and I sometimes wonder who's going to survive, who's going to live, and who's going to do the killing, who's going to do the surviving, who is running, and who is chasing. We know that's not it. We looked at the Bible, and we looked at the sort of revolution that Jesus brought. And in Jesus' revolution, he came in, we looked at the background, how the people of Israel had God as a king. He provided for them, did everything, and they said, no, what are we like these other nations who have this king? Anytime the king moved, people just move behind him. Anytime there was war, the king goes and fights, leads them to battle. And what happened was they shifted responsibility for the nation to that king. Now, he did as God wanted. You want king, I'll give you king. The king will take your servants, you take your animal, take the best of your land for himself. And we saw it. Even King David, the great King David, took things that didn't belong to him. At one point, he took Saul's land, gave it to Saul's servant, and after he gave it to Saul's son, and after he said, you people share it. It wasn't his role to do. So we say that when Jesus arrived, he arrived at the scene when people were saying, hey, Jesus, you're feeding 5,000. So are you going to restore glory to Israel? You're going to be king now. In fact, we, your disciples, will be governor of here, governor here. And Jesus said, no. His strategy was different. This work that I'm doing, you're going to do it too. So in summary, Jesus' approach was not, I come and become king, then I go fight the Romans, and I destroy the Romans, then we, the people of Israel, start walking around, hey, Tadori has come back. No. He raised up ordinary people. Those ordinary people raised up other ordinary people, and that's how the work was done. The task given to one man was shared by all. And over time, that legacy lasted. It wasn't a legacy or a dynasty, as we call it. People who were David's son, David's grandson. No. Everybody became kings and priests and prophets, as scripture calls us. So the revolution that we started in Nigeria is not the one that we carry one man and we put in Aso Rock. Then we fold the hands and say, all right, we're giving you power. Go ahead and do it. It's a revolution where one man goes into Aso Rock, those interested in politics, but not interested, those who have been called to the political scene, go into politics. Some will become presidents, some become governors, but more importantly, remember, in politics, the elective position are just a little, you can't be known with political experience, that it's just the people that go to politics. The biggest role is many people who get involved in the party politics. Many people get involved in party convention, because it's convention they vote for candidates. If we are not involved in party, how do we vote for the right person? So all that requires our participation. But not only politics. We need people in education. The governor is not going to go to the school and teach. We need people who care about those children and want to build nation builders in schools. We need people in hospitals. We need people in sports. We need people in science. That the sectors are diverse and they're wide. So that's the summary. But when we talk about the revolution, the next problem that comes is environment. What environment do we operate in? Because the environment we operate in is not just the environment where people just feel that first, the environment where everybody just says, we're waiting for that one man. When we put the right man in Aso Rock, all our problems is solved. But there's even a bigger one. The environment we face is a culture. Culture is one of the, not culture is not one of, culture is the number one influence in any environment. It is the number one influence in every environment. There's a saying that when you're in Rome, act like the Romans. They say when you go to Rome, check how the culture of the Romans and behave like that in order for you to survive there. But what is culture? It's important to really address what culture is. The reason being, if we don't really understand what culture is, every time we mention culture, people think the wrong thing. So, just to give us an understanding, when we say culture, we're not talking about language, we're not talking about music, we're not talking about clothing, we're not talking about even literature. Why? Because a white man can come, eat the food, wear the clothes, even sing the song, and be part of it, but not part of the Nigerian culture. Those are products of a culture. Culture is defined as a body of learned human behavior patterns common to a given human society. I'll read that again. The video is going to be online on YouTube. Culture is a body of learned human behavior patterns common to a given human society, which essentially means culture is the common way of life, the lifestyle of a people. It's important to make quite clear here. In any given society, what the majority do is the culture of that place. In every culture, you have a minority. So it's possible to have a Nigerian born and bred here who eats the food, enjoy the music, wears the clothes, but it's not part of the Nigerian culture. Because we say it's a learned human behavior pattern. If that learned behavior pattern is not being undertaken by this minority, it's not part of the Nigerian culture. Very important to take note of. Very, very important. Culture is something that a person learns from his family and his surroundings. That's his environment. We're back to that environment thing. Culture is not something that someone was born with. So there's a good example. Someone can be born in Nigeria, be brought up in another place. He won't be part of the Nigerian culture. He'll be part of the culture in which he was brought up in. Very important to take note of this point. Culture is the means through which people interact with others in the society. Culture acts subconsciously in us. The certain things that we see and we perceive. It is our culture that has enabled us to see that thing in a certain way, perceive that thing in a certain way, and even speak in a certain way. I've talked about the majority. It's also interesting about culture. In my time in the UK, it's interesting how you go to those places where you have a lot of Nigerians, and you just see the Nigerian there. I mean, it's on record here. My friends in the UK would know this. When we talk about Deptford in London, this is an area that has a lot of Nigerians. You would see guys drive, and there's a line that is quite clear. You don't park there. But we're Nigerians. People just 1 minute they just go climb the curb, even the curb that you're not meant to climb. We climb and park a car, rush and do our thing. It's common because we're Nigerians. You see people talk on the loud tone, swear, speed, and drop stuff, and it's quite common. But this is an organized society. But the Nigerian culture is coming. I've kind of given you some hint of what our culture, the key qualities of it. So we're going to get there. So it's important to really get this. The reason why we need to understand the real meaning of culture is because the problem facing Nigeria, our biggest hindrance, is the culture of the country. The culture is what determines that environment. And when that culture remains as it is, Nigeria won't change. Even the best leader is put in Aso Rock. If this culture remains, and the leader just turns his eye to see them sleep small, the culture just prevails. The people just act in that same way. It's a big thing. So we must understand it. We must understand that when we see what culture really is, then we can identify how to solve or turn the problem around, change the culture. So what are the key qualities? I mean, the first one that you have to mention about Nigerian culture is lawlessness. Even amongst us, the change agents, I mean, all these qualities we struggle, but some of us have come from a journey. We've done a bit better than we were before, because I don't know about you, in my own experience, when God called me out to this work, the first thing that was happening in me was God dealing with the culture in me. Let me give you a good illustration, and we'll come to, let me just hit that one. There's one we have here under lawlessness, poor timekeeping. We call it Nigerian time. Do you know when the whites come to Nigeria and they travel back, they want this, oh, great country, great, oh, very exciting people. They have a Nigerian time there. You say, what do you mean? They use a different clock. No. Nigerian time. If the education starts at 10 o'clock, they come at 2 o'clock. That's Nigeria. Oh, how is that possible? So what do you do? Do you actually, this is what a colleague said to me when he came to Nigeria. So what did you, I said, so we waited until 2 o'clock. So when we were to start time, 10 o'clock. So you didn't do anything between 10 and 2? No, we just waited for 2 o'clock. And that's when we started. And the people are looking, how is that possible? How does a country run 4 hours of people doing nothing? He said, Only us who thought it was 10 o'clock were there. The rest of the country thought it was 2 o'clock. So they came at 2 o'clock. So to the rest of the country, it was a normal time to show up. You are not part of the culture, that's why you arrived there first. You see how far the problem has gone. Even as a change agent, the first thing that God started dealing with me was my poor timekeeping. My contract at my job then said start time was 9:30. The train will arrive, and by the time I walk from the train station, I got there 3 minutes to 9:33, 9:35. My former boss, I'll show this video. He's gonna laugh when he sees this. And he'll call me and say, Bobby, you're late. And I'm thinking, 3 minutes? Come on! That's so inhumane. 3 minutes. Sometimes I stay here for hours, just 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And he says, okay, you arrive 3 minutes. By the time you take your coat off, by the time you have a child, by the time you make a cup of coffee and come to your desk, it's 10 o'clock. Who pays for that? I struggled to understand what he was saying. The simple solution was change your environment, Bobby. Take an earlier train. But my problem with my fixed mindset was earlier train means I will get to the office about 10 past 9. Who pays for the 20 minutes now? But what I couldn't get into my mindset that 20 minutes was enough time for me to get into the office, get my coffee, do my to-do. So when it's 9:30, I am ready to run. Poor timekeeping. Part of our lawlessness, disobeying rules and procedures. There is nothing so painful in our culture these days that if you give us 10 things to do, we do the first 5 and we start telling, must we do the whole 10? As long as that 5 gives us an element of completion, that's completion. We accuse the laborers who come and do shady jobs at home. We accuse the craftsmen, all those sort of people. But it happens in high places. It happens in banks. It happens in oil companies. I've got friends in the oil sector that will tell you our biggest problem is people not following rules. And some of them are dealing with technologies that cost tens of millions of dollars. But people just don't follow rules, and they have been trained in the best institution. What is interesting, when they go to another environment, they apply the rules. Because the culture there is, we don't walk about. 1 to 10 is 1 to 10. But when you come to this culture, come on, I try now, and I try, apply 9 to 5 or 1 to 5. You should be thanking me now. I try. And in true matter, I said, yes, you can try, but next time, try improve to 8. No. The rule says 1 to 10. Nothing is acceptable except 1 to 10. Let it be very clear that rules were created because people sat down and thought, what are the things we need to do to deliver this? If there were 10 things that were needed to deliver, there were 10 things that needed to be done always. So you can't do 1 without doing 2. You can't do 5 without doing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lack of thoroughness, that's what we're talking about there. We don't like to think thoroughly, we don't like to. Brainstorming is absent in our culture. We want to do something. Yeah, one more next month. Oh, great. How much do we need? 2 million. Great. Let's get moving. Let's mobilize. We've not sat down to think, what is the objective of this thing? How many people do we need? Where do we want to do it? What is the weather like? What's the time of the year? Who is doing something similar that we don't want to distract? Thoroughness. We don't do it. Oh, dishonesty and insincerity. Massive problems amongst Nigerians. Admittedly, this, as you know with culture, it wasn't what existed before. But it's now a prevailing culture because the majority now do that. I mean, you can get, I remember the joke when someone was sitting on the bus. This one asked someone, oh, where you did? I'm on my way to Abuja. Now, the next passenger, where you did? I'm on my way to. The guy was going somewhere and just called the driver and say, where would they go again? The driver to assure him, we're going to that. It's just, we're so common to see in a bus, and this one I see in Lagos. And yesterday, someone called another person. We did Alan already. We did Alan. I'm just thinking, this is not be Alan now. So I tapped the woman and say, Madam, we know there is. I know now. They didn't expect me since I know. You know, since I carry my pikin, he was holding a baby. My pikin hold me down small, so he knows how they come. I'm like, okay. So he go wait. He said, I go wait. I know go wait. Why didn't you tell the person I am not near there? I'm about 10 minutes away, and this was 10-15 minutes from Malawi. Dependence on the power of money and wastage. You know, having studied change in Nigeria, something that occurs to me is that when the people are not thorough, when the people don't follow rules and procedures, what is the outcome? Problems. And when problems come, the next thing you try to do is to solve problems by any means necessary. And the any means necessary does not mean for you to go back and say, I didn't follow the rules. Let me go back and follow the rules to activate this. No. Come now, take small thing, just take something rest. They give you a form, they write on the form. The deadline is the 1st of April. You had the form in January, you had it in February, you had it in March. Now it's 29th of March. You start ringing oh boy, no person for that place. Why? That thing when they write first, I don't go fit meet up. You say, why? I need to take passport, I need to get bank documents. I beg, talk to your guy now, go bring and come around the 7th. He go feed, I will do feed now, and we'll find something, give him. We're just so dependent that money can sort these things out. The time has been given. The biggest problem I had when I ran a holiday business was just this simple point of people not going to apply for their visas on time. And you tell them, go and apply don't worry, I got it sorted. Then they call you 2 weeks and that visa, how long did they take? And I say, you're traveling 2 weeks. Don't worry, I'll sort it out. Then they call you 2 days after and say, look, I am ready to pay anything just to get this visa. I must not lose this thing. You know how much you've taken for that ticket. For these holidays we must go. And I'll tell them it's not possible. These people have this trust God. They'll tell me trust God. Then that trust God is, if you know any agent, I am ready to pay any amount. And you're thinking, any amount. Wow. But as a result of depending on the power of money, we also waste money. We just feel that money can sort things out. You look at many houses, people rush the house, and because they have money, I just feel if that doesn't work, we break it down and we do it all over again. Just do it, just do it. But the wastage is not really limited to trying to cover our mistake. The wastage is occasions, simple occasion that you can get white chairs. But if everyone does white chairs, let's improve the quality of the chairs, you spend more money. A simple occasion that if you plan in good time, you can get things at normal rate, but when you plan in last minute, the printer is telling you, okay, I will jump, let's say, hey, how much? We get it sorted. And Nigerians say to me in the UK, the one thing he likes Nigeria is the question is, how much? Over here, you people have rules. Over in Nigeria, we just ask, how much? And problems are sorted. Begging. I wrote an article on the begging culture. What I found quite interesting, when a lot of people responded on my blog, bobudo.com. There hasn't been that and the Nigerian culture were 2 articles that I had many people saying, you know, that's true. Because the simple culture is people will not do things on time, people will not do things properly, and then when they get into trouble, they come and say, oh God, no vex. Oh God, no vex. Then you say, but the repercussions, I'm the one going to pay for, yes sir, please, no vex, no vex. This is something that is common in Nigeria, begging. And the moment you turn down that begging, you seem like a wicked man. When my mom was ill, we hired a full-time nanny to look after my mom. She abused the opportunity. My mom was emancipating, she was getting bigger. Leave her in the morning, a woman that needed full care. It is important that we see these things. And for people who do care or do whatever, whether it's care for an elderly person, whether it's holding money, there are serious repercussions when you don't do what you're meant to do. The begging does not cover that. When I came in and I fired the woman, I paid her the money for that month and I gave her a month in advance. She went to her village, called the village chief. The man came with his papa, the full work, so that I could know without him saying he's the chief, that he is the chief. Had his towel, sat down, my dad was seated there. My dad called me, this man wants to see me. Oh, chief, to see me. Oh, something important. Oh, yes, her daughter did not do what she wanted. She's so silly woman. Take her back. I said, no. Matter settled, paid her, told her to go. He said, I am a chief begging you, take her back. I said, chief, oh, no way. Matter is sorted. So even me as chief begging you, a small boy like you cannot listen. And I'm telling you, I'm thinking, I'm the one that suffers injustice. I am the one now to feel like, what a culture. This is what culture does. Culture blinds you to what you have done. It doesn't enable you to see that what you have done is actually wrong. It gives you power, because that is the goal of life. And remember, the person that holds the power, as I said in the last teaching, determines the outcome. So the person who is doing this thing doesn't see it and feels that he's empowered, because this is how we operate now. The last time I begged, they gave me. The one where I begged this one, they give me. So who are you not to agree to me? Then they play this one and said, you should fear God now, fear God. Have a mind of God. Forgive and forget. But you can forgive and forget without taking the person back. Repercussions are there and they're important. Impatience, we don't need to talk much about it. But all these we have other things that encourage it. When you don't do things on time, when you don't do things properly, you're rushing. The appointment is 10 o'clock. If you don't leave 8 o'clock, if it's a 1 hour journey, put another hour or 30 minutes. We start rushing on the roads, trying to fly everywhere. We're not leaving on time. We do things lastminute.com and we get too impatient, and because of impatience, other problems come. Lack of humility. Hey, you talk to a Nigerian will tell you, do you know who I am? Then you talk to a Nigerian, I'm a graduate. And they start wondering, so, what does it matter what to do with graduate? Are we doing a graduate studies here? So we'll finish the point very soon. Mindset. We have 3 core mindsets in this country. Destination mindset, that we use the phrase, I have arrived. You know what it means to have arrived? You have a big car, you have a big house, your children now go to a nice private school. You have arrived now. There are many of us you see in our country who do nothing than sit down at home. They're going into politics, stole enough money, send the children abroad, build one big house in Abuja, build in Lagos, and one, we call it country home. Back in the village. There's nothing more to do in life. So small time, stroll to the other house, chill small time, stroll to the... We have arrived now. When you ask your friend how this guy says, the guy don't learn though. The guy is doing, and he does nothing more. The second one is entitlement mindset, which is one of the biggest problems in Nigeria. We all feel entitled that the government has to do something for us. Our brother has to do something because he's the first son. Your brother has to do something. Your brother again married, he has children, he has to feed them, but your brother has to do something. In fact, when you go into your brother's house, you take anything, now our brother now, the day that brother should die, you tell the wife, now our brother. So, entitlement mindset. Then the final mindset, leisure mindset. Oh dear. We don't do burials on weekends anymore. When we grew up, Saturday was burial day. You don't go out of your office for burial. You only go on leave, take permission on Friday afternoon to be able to travel. Nowadays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, burial, wedding, child dedication, certain events that never existed in our time exist now. In fact, someone who buried the parents 20 years ago do memorial. There must be something that must be celebrated. Leisure mindset. And the final one, lack of responsibility. Is still connected to mindset where we are entitled, so we are not responsible for anything. So anything goes wrong, even when someone hits your car on the road, it's amazing how the person comes out and says, "But you go like this now. Now, as you don't go like this now, you can just think, just open your mouth and say, I'm sorry." Someone pushes you at the back and just say, "You don't move now, you don't shake." And open your mouth and say, "I'm sorry." Then we take it from there. Nobody does that. But it's good to add a few positives that in all these things about our culture, we're friendly people, aren't we? When people come to Nigeria, the first thing that hits them is that this is a poor country, but people are lively, people talk, people are so friendly. We're social and friendly. Sociable, we're generous. Sometimes generosity has incentive. We're generous because we want something from you. But having said that, we're generous people. We're passionate. Nigerians are passionate. It's so common for foreigners to see our passion. My neighbor said to me in the UK that she's never seen any group of people, 4 standing in a circle talking, and 4 of them are talking at the same time. And nobody's talking, you see, I'm trying to say, this is my point, if we do this, it's like, I am telling you, someone's raising their hands up and even ready to touch the ground and say, in my own experience, they're thinking, slow down. We talk so passionately with all our body, and there's no doubt. Whether we're talking politics or let's not even start football. When we enter football and you think, is the Chelsea and Arsenal Nigerian teams, they're over there. But the passion is here. We're God-fearing. People may say that this religion does nothing for us, but deep down, Nigerians are God-fearing. The environment has not allowed us to display that God fear. Then we come out with that God fear, but remember once we're in church, we kind of have that fear, but when we come into environment, we conform to it. So when we're talking about changing culture, we're talking about taking the things that we get from places like church, the things that we get from our worship time, our administration, even the teachings that we get. People watch the YouTube video and agree with everything that's been said here. But when you go into the environment, that's the true test. Are you the one that will change that environment, or do you conform to the environment? That's what it boils down to. So how do we change culture? How do we become the ones that will change the environment? How do we become the ones that will become the positive influence rather than the society influencing us? Culture changes. If we look at the Nigerian situation, we went like this years before. That is an indication that culture changes. In the same way it's moved from how it was to where it is now, it's the same way that people can move it back. But remember, the people who are to move this predominantly are people who are under that culture. So the only people who can change culture are the people who have chosen not to operate in that culture. And for us to not operate under that culture, we have to get from this point of admitting. If we do not admit that we're part of that culture, we can't change it. My experience is very useful in this regard. I prayed to God once. As you know, some of you know, my mom took a fake malaria drug and that started her ailment. The guy did not accept my ability and is still operating till today. And what we don't know for certain, how many more people would have taken fake drugs and died as a result, that we don't know, but he's still operating. My dad had a prostate which wasn't diagnosed for some time. Money was thrown, and when it was discovered, it was late. I got so many issues, taking care of family and all that, and I prayed, Lord, kill all those leaders. And the Lord said, okay, if I kill them, who will replace them? And I said, okay, choose people. The Lord said, if you want to change, let's start with you. And okay, I'm ready to change. The first thing God said, let's deal with your pride. Like me, oh, I'm an easygoing guy. I don't have any pride issue. I mean, oh, those guys are so full of pride. If you go to Nigeria, they know what watch are you wearing, what belt, what shoe. I don't have those issues. And I said, okay, let's test this. There was a time I got to the airport late, and Virgin Atlantic said seat had been so full. So my seat had been given to somebody who was on waiting list. I said, I have to go during the time my mom wasn't well, so I had to come. I pleaded and pleaded, and they upgraded me to premium economy, not business. Premium is the middle one. So when I got into waiting hall, you know when they call business and premium loading first before the commoners, the economy. When they call premium, the white stood up as if, you know, this is what I travel, I paid for this, got onto the seat. You know, they give you newspapers. I read papers in the office. I collected Financial Times. You know, Financial Times is big. Open the spread. What would you like to drink? Oh, champagne, yep, a cup. Orange juice, yep, a cup. Keep on there. I was feeling like the owner. People were walking in the economy class. People were now walking past us and had my spread, my champagne on the side. And the Lord said, you got it for free. There was no humility. If you are paid for it, then there's still pride issues. But this one, you got it for free, and it acted as if this was your normal level. Yet when you're coming back from Lagos in a few days' time, you're traveling that same economy. I'm like, oh, okay. So it goes to show that if we do not admit that we have this issue, God cannot help us. There must be an admittance that will enable the Holy Spirit to begin to show us, okay, these are areas that the culture is prevalent in your life. And until this is dealt with, you can't do anything about it. And one of the biggest problems with us as change agents is something I talked about during the prayer time. You can be like an Abraham who's left your father, left your family, and you've come out, and there's a sense of, I've given up everything like Peter. God, we've given up everything, so what's going to happen to us? But the truth doesn't matter. You've given up nothing. You've given up nothing. Because there's still more to be given. There's still more that has to be given. And because of that, there's certain things we, the change agents, struggle to let go of. We must admit, I am constantly at the place telling myself, I've always had timekeeping issues. So when there's an important meeting, the first thing I tell myself, Bobby, you know your timekeeping issues and what you're doing to deal with it. So I tell myself, carry a book or charge your phone. Make sure there's enough work there. So when you get there, you're on Twitter, you're doing something. So when I tell myself, when I get to that place, I'll do work, I'm encouraged to get to that place early. That is how I beat my timekeeping issue. I will not stand here and say, oh, Nigerians have time issue. If there's poor timekeeping, then I'm as a nation builder, I don't have that issue. I do. I admit it to myself, and I remind myself, as a result, I put measures in place to enable me get to places on time. Now, there are many people who are observing me, and by me getting to somewhere on time, I'm influencing the environment. But what these guys don't realize is the constant battle I'm fighting, and I'm constantly seeking to get better and better to a point where it becomes second nature to me. Admittance is critical. But when you admit, what tends to happen there is you take responsibility for it. But responsibility is that place where you begin to say, what must I do? Not they, what must they do? What must I do to change the situation? I gave the illustration of poor timekeeping. The moment I admitted I have poor timekeeping issue, because like every Nigerian, I used to tell me, when I go there now, I'll be the only one waiting, nobody will show up. Isn't that what happens to most of us? You start thinking, if I go there, I go and wait and waste my time. Let me enter there like a king where everyone is seated and I stroll in. I had to accept responsibility, and because of accepting responsibility, I had to start putting measures in place. So my brain started coming alert to say, what must I do to deal with my poor timekeeping issue? Now, many people will consider me to a very large extent someone who keeps time. I hope some of you think that same way too. I tried much there, maybe 80%. Before it was 20, maybe 20 is generous. But it's been a long journey. I'm not at 100%, but it's been a long journey. And a lot of people will take inspiration from that, but I took responsibility to deal with that cultural aspect, the Nigerian culture of poor timekeeping, and to put measure in place to improve my timekeeping. So we must take responsibility. Take responsibility over the cultural issues we're presently dealing with and say, what must I do to change them? Because it is when we do that we begin to devise, every time, let's take the appointment. If my appointment is in 2 weeks, I wouldn't wait for 2 weeks. What must I do now? Or who should I hold as my accountable officer and say, I have an appointment in 2 weeks. I need 5 documents. Tell that person, I need 5. And that person will really harass you. Must be someone who has that ability. Say, 2 weeks they come, do you have the document? You should say, well, this where sincerity comes as well. You don't say, the documents are coming. Like in the Nigerian culture, when it's not coming. We're sincere to say, I have started this, I've started it, but next week I'll be ready to go for the appointment. Now, the third thing that we must do is proactive modeling of the growth mindset. Because the two process in change of culture, there's the first aspect where we're doing the work that is happening within us. We're admitting and taking responsibility to change that culture. There's the second aspect where we're now living out that which we have determined we should do. And it is this living out that begins to change the environment. Admittance doesn't change the environment. Admittance just deals with us. Admittance opens up to look at the thing differently. The responsibility enables us to look at the things that we must do, the thing we must think, the thing we must act upon, the things we must say to enable us become a changed culture. Then, when we begin to put to practice is where we begin to determine a modeling of growth mindset, modeling of values. And when I mean values, I mean the core values. We're going to talk about values very soon. The core values, in my view, still remains a value of compassion. We have to be a people of compassion. We have to be a people that take and give opportunities. We have to be a people of responsibility, a people of equality, a people of valor, courage, a people of ambition, a people who give liberty and demand liberty, a people of unity, a people of enterprise, and the last one, a people of spirituality. We'll talk about that in greater details. But of significant importance, we have to be a people of a growth mindset. In my view, the biggest problem still remains in Nigeria, that fixed mindset is evil amongst us, the change agent. Now, what is the difference? A fixed mindset says this country is not going to change. It's going to remain as it is. And your brain cannot generate any ideas or solution because your brain has been shut to the possibility of change. A growth mindset says this country can change. It may take a long time, but it can change. And your brain starts developing ideas to that change. Your brain starts looking at a problem with a fixed mindset and say, you see, I've always told people that this country can't change. A growth mindset looks at the problem and says, the problem is crazy, but I still believe despite this change can happen. Despite this, change can happen. It needs this, it needs that. The growth mindset says that I must go and study to find the answers to this solution. A fixed mindset says it will happen in Nigeria, it may happen abroad. When you find the solutions, it will not apply here. A growth mindset says that this change that we're looking for must start with me. The fixed mindset says if there's going to be change, change at the top. There's nothing to do with me. Change at the top. If in fact when you change at the top, it's still going to be hard. In fact, they'll kill the guy. So every time they change, the fixed mindset sees possibility. The other part of it knocks it down. But we must become a people of growth mindset. A growth mindset says that what I learned yesterday is not relevant today. I must learn something new today. A fixed mindset says, I went to university now. I'm a graduate too. Don't insult me. I'm a graduate. A growth mindset says, I don't care what I studied. I must keep studying. I must keep finding those fresh solutions. The solution I had yesterday is not enough. We must find new solutions today and apply them. A fixed mindset person has stopped growing. A growth mindset person is still growing. So when you see a growth mindset person and environment, they remit that spirit of growth. And the people in their environment over time become people who start growing, because they capture the spirit of the growth mindset. The fixed mindset in an environment, everyone is static and everyone feels that this is the level. In fact, they desire like him to have a degree, and when they have a degree, maybe they go to masters in one fine university in London or US, and they come back, we're at the same level. No more. People in a growth mindset environment take up knowledge development. They learn, they keep learning. They learn from the high, they learn from the low. People in a fixed mindset feel that the days of reading is over. You people are the ones to read, not us. So these are the two outcomes in an environment. The people who are growth mindset create a growth environment. The people who are fixed mindset create a fixed environment. And since culture must change, it can only happen in an environment where growing takes place. It can't happen in an environment where everything is fixed. This is how we do stuff. Someone said to me once, I went to the president's office for an appointment, and I got there 2 hours before he showed up. And he told me, I've been at 2 o'clock, now you're supposed to know now. When they rush, they come. Leave that thing, or this is not London. He was so fixed at how the things, and apology did not come. That's how fixed it is. Don't change it. Now, the final thing is this. Routine. You know what I observed about successful people? When I mean successful people in Nigeria, we like thinking the rich people because that's the monetized culture. People who are successful, whether people of the faith, whether people of the organization, people in the military, people who run charities, people who build schools, people who build lasting legacies. Whether it's people like Mandela, whether it's William Booth of the Salvation Army, people who set up, the guy who set up Red Cross, the president who fought for slave trade to end, these people that we still see their impact to date, whether it's the Rockefeller family, those sort of people, the one thing that was common about them was routine. Because they recognized in order to enable and sustain a culture was that they had to have routine. There are people like Awo, whom Yinka knows very well, that have a reputation that you don't go to see them at 7 times because you know there's no way you see them. If it's their bedtime, no matter how important you are, you will not see them there. There are people who determine when is their reading time. You come and say, oh, I need to see you, it's so important. That's time has been allocated for reading. In fact, it's no longer the wife and children that will tell you, you know it's reading time. It's the person at the gate, the drivers, and even people who've gone there before. You won't go in your house, wait till the time. Oh, no, reading time. Reading? You get to see me now. No, that reading time when they move forward. Routine is very important. Routine enables you sit down and determine a plan. What are the things I want to do to enable me enter into this new culture and to work with it? Routine enables you to put that plan to action and to do it daily. It's not to say today is my good day, today is my chill out day. That's not routine. Routine is consistent effort at doing something till it has become a part of you, your way of life, and it becomes your culture. Anybody that wants to work with you imbibes that culture. The environment that you operate in imbibes that culture. The organization that you lead imbibes that culture. The people that are even your seniors imbibe that culture. Why? Because they know that to get the best out of you, you have to operate how your routine operates. But this is interesting. Because we have come from the culture that is so prevailing and so influential, we need help to help us do something different from the current thing. And we cannot do it just by talking. We cannot just do it by just drawing these are the things I want to do and we just get on. We need to put a plan, a well-defined plan. These are the things I want to do. A plan like if it's one book you're going to read a month, it's going to be one book you read a month. There's going to be someone that holds you to account that you read one book a month. If it's exercise you're going to do, if it's whatever it is that you're going to do, that routine must be established in a good plan and must be put into practice. Because at the end of the day, it is the practicing of your routine that is changing the environment, not only you. It's your execution of your routine that people observe and get changed. So, to get a disciplined lifestyle, it's critical to put a routine. Without discipline, we can't build Nigeria. We have become indisciplined for too long. We must establish a routine that will help us establish the new culture and to help us change the environment around us. A famous pastor in Nigeria said this to me. He said, at the end of the day, the evidence of what you're seeking to do and what you talk about must be first and consistently seen in you. So not just seen once, must be seen in you again and again and again. That is when people will say, we have a choice either to remain apart or to follow this. But if people recognize the influence that you have, if people recognize the contribution you're making, and they believe that that contribution is relevant, they will line up and follow. So we must change the culture, starting with the immediate environment, in order for us to change people. When people change, our nation will be built, and it is people that will sustain the nation. Thank you very much.